Welcome to Viceite to a express Chazara Shiur on Sugיא Gimel, being that Sugיא Gimel is quite long and a little bit of a tough Sugיא. We decided to make an express Chazara Shiur just on the Shakvatari, just on the Havana of the Gemara. Let's go straight ahead. First of all, let's see how quickly we can do this. And at the end of the Shiur, I'm going to have a question for all of you viewers to answer in the comments. So stay tuned. Yidiyas Mukdamas number one is a pshia, someone that's negligent. A lot of these concepts I'm going to explain are explained a lot more in length in the main Chazara Shiur. So this is express. Oines on something uncontrollable. What's the case of Chilas? If someone hid money in the hut of the shepherds, which is very flammable, so it's a pshia. But what ended up happening was it was an oines, it got stolen. So then there's a manor that says chayev and there's a manor that says pater. With that, let's go on to our sugya. The case that goes through our entire sugya is pashable. He was negligent in it. Vitzat laagam, and it went out to the swamp. Umeisa kedarka, and it died naturally. Okay, that is the case of our sugya. Now there's machlekes. Abaye in the name of Rabba says you are chayev. Rabba in the name of Rabba says you are pater. Now Abaye in the name of Rabba says you are chayev. And not only that, anyone that doesn't agree with me is not a dayan. Called dayan, any dayan that does not judge like this judgment, lav dayan, he's not a dayan. Now we have two opinions of Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben Chayev and Pater, right? So the man that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben Chayev will for sure agree with me, for sure down the line. But even the man that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben Pater, even they will agree with me that in this case you are Pater. Everyone will agree in this case that you are Pater. Why? Because in this case, Havla the Agma Katla, it's the ear of the swamp that killed it. And Rashi explains what's the difference between them. In the case of Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben of the heart, well, the putting it in the heart, the pshia, the negligence, is only in regard to fire. That negligence had nothing to do with the outcome of oines. But in our case, the pshia indeed had to do with the outcome. It wasn't oines. Actually, the pshia brought about a pshia. He left it open. It went out to the swamp, inhaled the ear. That's part of the pshia, and it died naturally. So everyone will agree, says Abai, everyone will agree to me that in this case you're chayv. Says Rav on the flip side. Rava says, call down and blow down anyone that doesn't agree with me, everyone that doesn't judge this way like me, lav daino, he's not a dayan. Everyone will agree that pater. Well, the man that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is pater, well, for sure they're going to agree with me. But even the man that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is chayev, even they will agree with me that in this case that you are chayev, that you are pater. Why? Because in this case it died naturally. Died naturally. The Malach would have killed it anywhere. So it doesn't matter the fact that I was negligent. It died anyway. And Rashi explains what's that the difference. In the case of the money in the heart, the one who holds Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is chayev, it's because you were negligent. You left it in a hut. You should have buried it. As we learned, the halacha is the only proper way to guard money is by burying it. Since you didn't bury it, that's what brought about it getting stolen. But over here, the pshia leaving the doors open had nothing to do with the outcome of it dying. It would have died anywhere. Even if you would have put 100 locks, it would have still died. In conclusion, Abaya says that you are chayev. Rava says you are pater. And we also have the two opinions. The mandama that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is chayev, Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is pater. Now, Abaya says for sure the mandama that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is chayev will agree with me. Even the mandama that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is pater will agree with me. Why would they agree with me that in this case you're chayev? Because the ear of the swamp killed it. Rava would say everyone would agree with me that pater in this case. Mandam that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is pater will for sure agree with me. The mandam that says Tchilas B'Shev Sev Ben is chayev will also agree with me. In this case, that you are chayev. Why are you chayev? Sorry, in this case you are pater. Why in this case are you a pater? Because it died naturally. It would have died anywhere. The pshia had nothing to do with it dying. Now, next part 2. Now, throughout the debate, throughout their argument, Abai and Rava, it comes out that Abai would actually admit to Rava, Abai would admit that you're pater if the cow, if the cow went back to the owner's house or to the shemer's house, Umesa and it died over there, then we don't suspect for the ear of the swamp, and we say Taka yet you're pater. And Rava will admit to Abaya that you are chayev in the case the Igam Vaganav Bagam, if the Ganav stole it from the swamp, which that's an outcome of leaving the doors open. It could go to the swamp and get stolen. Umesa Kadarka Began, then it died naturally by the Ganav. Then, as soon as it gets stolen, you are chayev, and we no longer say that, well, it would have died anyway. No. The Ganav stole it, that makes you chayev. You were negligent, it got stolen, you are chayiv. That's it. And with that we conclude part 2. Now we go on to part 3. Part 3 is a little bit of a tough one. So, but before we go to part 3, Chazara Shiur 3, in conclusion, because part 3 is going to be a kasha on Rava. So let's go over Rava's opinion. Rava says that in this case, if you were negligent, you left the doors open and went out to the swamp and it died naturally, you are potter. Well, the mandama that says chayiv, sorry, the mandama that says, now we have the mandama that says chayiv and the mandama that says potter. Well, the mandama that says chilas b'shev seif ben is potter will for sure agree with Rava. The mandama that says chilas b'shev seif ben is chayiv will also agree with Rava in this case, that you are potter. Why? Because Meisek Kedarka is a unique kind of itis. Everyone agrees, says Rava. Everyone agrees that when it comes to Meisek Kedarka, it doesn't matter if you were negligent before. It could be you were negligent. It doesn't matter. It died naturally. It would have died here. It would have died there. There's a concept by Meisek Kedarka called Mali Hacha Mali Hasam. It would have died anywhere. So therefore, you are not chayiv. That's Rava's opinion. Now, what the Gemara is about to do. The Gemara is going to go back. Abaye is going to ask Rava. You remember we had a kasha and a tiritz last Amud? You know, if you're right, why didn't we use your opinion as that tiritz? From the fact that we don't use your opinion as a tiritz, seemingly not everyone holds like you. So before we do that, let's recap. Let's do a chazara on a kasha and a tiritz from last Amud. Okay? The case that we're talking about is Shemer Shmasal Shemer. Balabayas gives a laptop to the Shemer number 1, Shemer number 1 gives it to Shemer number 2. And it goes gone. It's missing. It's done. I don't know, it's lost, it's stolen, whatever it is. Rabbi Yochanan says, you are chayiv. The Shemer number 1 is chayiv. Fragt Rabbi Abba Bar Ma'amol to Rabbi Ami. 1 second. We had in our Mishnah, the Balabayas rents out his car to the Seicher. The Seicher lends it to the Shoyal and it dies naturally. The din is that the Seicher makes a shvua that died naturally in his potter. And then the Shoyal needs to pay to the Seicher. And the Gemara asks, 1 second. Rabbi Abba Bar Ma'amol asks, 1 second. If you're telling me that the Shomer over here is chayiv, why? Because the Balabayas could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else. Let this Balabayas also say, I don't want my stuff by someone else. And instead of being potter, he should be chayiv. What does the Gemara answer? Rabbi Ami answers, well, this case is talking about the Balabayas told the Shomer, I don't mind if my stuff are by someone else. I don't mind if you lend it out. If you want to, you can lend it out. Therefore, the Balabayas can't say, I don't want my stuff by someone else. Now comes Abaye and says, 1 second. Rava, if you're right, and this is a screenshot from a previous slide. If you're right that there's such a concept that Meisek Kedarka is a unique type of inus, that everyone agrees, it doesn't matter if you were negligent or not, if a Meisek Kedarka would have died anywhere, so you're potter. If you're right, the Meisek Kedarka is potter because Mali Hacha Mali Hasam, then 1 second. Why didn't the Gemara use that as the answer to this question? Right? If everyone holds that by Meisek Kedarka, you could say the Mali Hacha, it's a unique type of inus, and you could say Mali Hacha Mali Hasam, then the Gemara should have used this as an answer. How would that work? Let's go through the question and then we'll use this as an answer. Okay? What was the question? Rabbi Yochanan says chayiv. Why? Because the owner could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else. In the Mishnah, why doesn't the Balabayas say, I don't want my stuff by someone else? And instead of the Seicher being potter, he should be chayiv. And for the Gemara, the Gemara should have answered, oh, you know, this Mishnah is a totally different case. Because this Mishnah is Meisek Kedarka. Meisek Kedarka is unique. Mali Hacha Mali Hasam. So the Seicher could say to the Balabayas, Mali Hacha would have died anywhere. Yes, Mr. Balabayas. Yes, I know you don't want you don't want it by someone else, but it would have died after. It would have died by me. It would have died by him. Mali Hacha Mali Hasam. That's why in this Mishnah. You are the shoyl. The Seicher is going to be potter. That's the answer. Should have used that answer. So from the fact that Rabbi Ami does not use your answer, must be that not everyone holds like you. And the number that says doesn't agree with you. Doesn't agree with this concept that Mali Hacha Mali Hasam, you would be potter anyway. because it died anyway. And for the Rava to Abaye, 1 second. Who said that the reason of Rabbi Yochanan is because the Baal Bais could say, I don't want my stuff by someone else? You said it. You Abaye, you were the one that said it. I had a totally different reason. My reason was because I don't trust him with a shvuah. The Baal Bais would say to the Shomer, I don't trust this guy with a shvuah. So according to me, there isn't even that question of that the Baal Bais should tell the Seicher, I don't want my stuff by someone else. And actually, Rashi says, that actually, according to Rava, this Mishnah works perfectly. Shomer Shemasa the Shomer is chayiv. Why? Because I don't trust this guy. But in our Mishnah, the Seicher is potter. Because Baal Bais could trust him, and he's the one making the shvuah. Beautiful. Okay, now the Gemara goes on to the fourth part, a kasha on Abaye. And again, in the case that the Shomer left the door open and went out to the swamp, and it died naturally, Abaye says, chayav, why? Because the ear of the swamp killed it. Now this Gemara is going to be back and forth, so it's useful to have a side panel to know exactly where we're holding. Now, for the Gemara, there's a Mishnah on Daf Tzadik Gimel Amud Beis that says, hello, Rashi took him. If you took the animal up to the top of the mountain, v'nafla, and it fell down, ein zaynis, this is not an oinus and you are chayiv. Why? Because you should have been careful that it shouldn't fall. So we learn out from it. This is the Mishnah. Now we learned something out from it. Okay? Now this is not the Mishnah. We learn a deal. But if it died naturally, if it fell, then you're chayiv. But if it died naturally, harei zaynis or potter, is zaynis and you're potter. For the Gemara, now comes the first kasha. Amai, why are you potter? The same way you were chayiv over here because the air of the swamp. Let's use the same logic. Maybe the ear of the mountain killed it, or the exhaustion of the climbing up the mountain killed it. Why don't we blame it on external factors like Abaye did? Must be that Abaye is not right. And for the Gemara, no. It's a regular thing that all the Shemrim take their animals up there because it's a good and fat pasture. So you can't blame it on bad ear because everyone does it. So for the Gemara, 1 second. If everyone takes it up the mountain, then if it fell, then you should also be potter. Why are you chayiv? You should be potter. It's a regular thing. Everyone goes there. And it fell, nebach. Why it fell? It's oinus also. Why are you chayiv? And for the Gemara, he should have held on to it. He wasn't holding on to the animal, and that's why it fell, and that's why you are chayiv. Now the Gemara brings in an earlier part to this Mishnah. And the Gemara asks Akasha, 1 second, if you're telling me that he's chayiv because he didn't hold it, Amos, Reisha, let's look at the Reisha of the Mishnah. If also the Rashi took him, if it went up by itself, as you see over here, I'm not sure if you can see. If you can see over here, the Shomer stayed at the bottom, but it went up by itself. V'nafla, and it fell. This is oinus. 1 second. If you're telling me that over here he's chayiv because he should have held it, why over here is he potter? He should have held it, and because he didn't hold it, he's chayiv. And for the Gemara, actually, talking about a case, Takfasiva also, it was stronger than him. The animal was stronger than him. He tried holding it, but the animal was stronger than him, and it went up, and it was stronger than him, and it fell down. That is the conclusion of our sugya. The Shech now. Tzlach